They laughed when I raised my glass. Polite smiles, then jokes about budget weddings. I set my glass down, opened my phone, and withdrew a document. The next morning, the mortgage officer called. Laughter doesn't fund a closing. Respect sometimes does. Before watching the video, please tell us in the comments from where you are watching this video. The ballroom smelled like butter and flowers under rented chandeliers and string lights. A DJ adjusted levels until the bass felt like a quiet heartbeat. Servers moved in lanes, balancing plates as if traffic laws lived indoors. I stood near the head table, glass lifted to a comfortable height. Lucas watched me with the same steady patience he learned fishing. Sloan looked past me toward the photographer, eyes bright and perfectly arranged. Victoria smiled at guests, measuring reactions like prices in polished storefronts. My phone rested face down beside a folded napkin and place card. I waited for clinking forks to settle because timing keeps words useful. When the room quieted, I started simple and kept the road straight. To the couple, I said, "May your mornings come honest and unhurried." A few people nodded, the safe kind, the nods that like neutral ground. May repairs happen early and praise arrive faster than complaints most days. Laughter rolled lightly, a polite wave that didn't touch deeper water. Sloan leaned toward Victoria and whispered, "At least he kept it budget." Someone near them chuckled, then added, "Cute speech from a coupon dad, right?" The microphone caught enough for nearby tables to hear it clearly. I let the moment hang until it weighed what it needed. "Some budgets build savings and dignity," I said, still calm and measured. "Both spend well when hard weather shows up without invitation." The photographer gestured for smiles. Cameras prefer laughter over lessons every time. Victoria raised her glass and said, "2 upgrades we all deserve this year." A cousin laughed and said, "Next time book the rooftop, not community center vibes." Lucas flushed, then forced a grin that tried to hold the table. "Dad's fine," he whispered. "He likes keeping things practical and clean." "Practical photographs poorly?" someone offered. A joke built for applause and selfies. I watched the ripple pass, small but sharp, like a paper cut. Sloan touched Lucas's arm and said, "He's sweet, just simple about celebrations." I looked at my son, not them, because eyes teach louder than words. He gave a tiny shrug, the kind that begs everyone to move on. I finished the toast quickly, because brevity protects dignity better than arguments. "You have my blessing," I said, "and a small document that helps." Phones lifted again, ready to record generosity like entertainment with dessert. "We'll handle details tomorrow with the people who keep closings honest." The room applauded, eager for cake, dancing, and less uncomfortable air. Sloan smiled for a camera while avoiding the human holding the microphone. Victoria clinked her fork and said, "Cheers to premium life, finally." I set my glass down and turned the phone face up quietly. One file waited behind a passcode, a gift letter and wire authorization. I slid the phone back, because weight doesn't change when hidden wisely. The band started a safe song everyone knows from summer weddings. Lucas hugged me quickly, whispering, "Thank you, Dad, really, for everything." "Always," I said, keeping my voice even and my back straight. Sloan approached, cheeks practiced, smile bright like a showroom opening day. "Your toast was sweet," she said, tone warm enough for nearby microphones. "Next time, maybe keep budget jokes off the mic, okay?" She added gently. "I didn't make a joke," I said. "I made a promise." She blinked, then looked past me as the photographer called her name. Victoria brushed by and said, "We'll text the decorator after closing tomorrow." "After confirmation," I answered, and she heard the hinge in that sentence. I stepped to the edge of the dance floor and watched lights wander. A server asked if I needed anything. I asked for plain water. My hands didn't shake because numbers and lumber taught them steadiness. I thought about Lucas's classroom and the way he grades with patience. I thought about a starter house and a lender whose emails read cleanly. The gift letter lived on my phone, written in short, exact language. It offered help, not leverage, partnership, not applause for public optics. Help works best when people treat it like responsibility, not spotlight. The song ended, applause returned, and the room chose sweetness again. At dessert, someone asked what I do now that I left public accounting. "Small jobs," I said. "Remodels, porches, and fixing rotten sills correctly." "Hands-on," he replied, the way people say, "less than," without trying. "Hands-on keeps roofs dry," I said, not defensive, just naming the truth. He smiled, then turned to watch a bridesmaid balance a cake slice. My sister Angela, different Angela than the lender, touched my elbow lightly. "You okay?" she asked. "Steady," I said. "Steady gets people home." She nodded, knowing I don't swing hammers during storms that don't need them. The DJ announced a bouquet toss. The crowd moved like birds. When the night wound down, I hugged Lucas and kept it short. "Proud of you," I said, and meant every inch of the sentence. Sloane thanked guests and waved like a mayor on a sunny parade. Victoria gathered compliments as if they were currency that increased value. I collected my jacket, nodded to the coordinator, and stepped into cooler air. The parking lot smelled like rain that wouldn't arrive, only threaten. Under a streetlight, the phone screen lit my face and fingers. I looked at the document again and read the first line, deliberately. Gifts expand character or expose it. Paperwork only reports the result tomorrow. I locked the screen and drove home without letting emotions touch the wheel. The gift letter sat on my desk 3 weeks before the wedding. I wrote it in plain English, short lines that leave no questions. Funds are a gift, with no expectation of repayment, the opening sentence read. The amount matched guidelines for a conventional loan with private mortgage insurance. Angela Ruiz, the loan officer, had emailed a clean template without jargon. I filled it carefully, double-checked numbers, and signed with a steady hand. My bank verified the source because underwriters dislike surprises disguised as generosity. I kept copies in a folder labeled Simple and True, nothing extra. Numbers behave when people do, and paper records the difference. I had closed dozens of files as an accountant before changing trades. Gift letters fail when people treat them like tips, not tools. Lenders need paper trails, not speeches or promises made under chandeliers. A proper trail shows my account, the transfer, and the borrower's account history. Large deposits must be explained, or underwriters assume borrowed funds hiding quietly. They verify I am not a party to the contract or a realtor. The letter states, I will not live there or gain any interest. It also confirms I am not lending the money through a side door. Clean language makes approvals faster, calmer, and harder to fight later. Lucas asked for help after their offer beat 2 others by inches. "We can cover the payment," he said, "but cash is tight." "I can bridge the gap," I told him, "if we keep it professional." He nodded, grateful without theatrics, preferring results over optics every time. Sloane thanked me quickly, then pivoted to centerpieces, dresses, and vendor schedules. I noticed, but ignored it, because generosity loses strength when keeping score. We agreed my gift covered part of the down payment and costs. The rest came from their savings and a seller credit negotiated by their agent. I reminded Lucas that paperwork loves clarity more than romance or applause. A week later, Angela called and walked me through her checklist calmly. "We need your bank statement pages that show available balances," she said. "We also need proof of transfer when you wire or cashier's check funds." "No problem," I answered, writing notes even though my head already knew them. "Underwriting will call on funding day to confirm willingness," she added. "They like hearing your voice before issuing clear to close." I appreciated the precision because good lending feels like good carpentry. Measurements, photos, and signatures keep emotion from overruling structure. We agreed I would wire funds the business day before closing. Mark Denton, the buyer's agent, kept the timeline tight without sounding harsh. Appraisal ordered, inspection cleared, financing on track, he reported during a short call. "Your gift closes the gap on cash to close by a clean margin." "Copy," I said, keeping words small so decisions stayed large and steady. He warned sellers held backup offers if the loan stumbled at the finish. I understood leverage and respected that he named it, without spin. "We are fine," I said, "as long as behavior matches the paperwork." "I like that line," he replied, laughing like a man who sees storms early. We hung up knowing everyone had done their part so far. Victoria began sending updates that felt like instructions wearing makeup. "Upgrade the floral package," she suggested. "The photos will thank you later." I ignored the hint that my gift should subsidize optics, not shelter. "We should boost the bar package and rent uplights for the room." Sloane followed with nice-to-haves that grew like ivy on a fence. "Could we add a champagne tower and a neon sign behind us?" I told Lucas privately. "The gift is for the home, not the party." He agreed, then asked me to keep the peace until the cake was done. I said yes, because peace stretches dollars better than pride does. The rehearsal confirmed what the messages had only whispered earlier softly. "Let Paul sit near the back," Victoria told the planner, smiling brightly. "Vendors need space up front for better pictures," she added, still smiling. Sloane corrected my walking pace twice, then asked me to speak shorter. "Keep it light," she said, and let the decorator do the heavy lifting. I said okay, because arguing before vows never builds rooms worth living in. That night, I reread the gift letter and checked the wire authorization. The language still felt sturdy, fair, and resistant to bad weather. I slept fine, trusting process more than decorations or public praise. The rehearsal dinner carried the kind of tension polite people ignore. It took place in a renovated barn, warm lighting, white chairs, and rented charm. The room smelled of roasted chicken, candles, and money pretending to be effortless. Victoria directed seating like a stage manager. "Paul, over there," she said, pointing toward a corner near the catering door. "Better view of the buffet line," she added, not noticing how thin that kindness sounded. I nodded, set my jacket on the chair, and smiled anyway. Lucas waved from the head table, trying to balance between two households built from different budgets. Sloane touched his wrist, whispering something with a rehearsed smile that didn't include me. During appetizers, Victoria told the story of how we pulled off this miracle wedding with practiced modesty. "It took teamwork," she said, "and a little creative budgeting." The guests laughed, and someone clinked a glass like applause for efficiency. She turned to me, eyes bright. "Paul, you understand budgeting better than anyone, right? The expert himself. Numbers behave if people do," I said, steady and dry. "That's why ledgers work better than speeches." A cousin chuckled. "Spoken like an accountant." "Former," I corrected. "Now I fix foundations people forget to inspect." He nodded politely, unsure if I meant floors or relationships. When the first course arrived, Sloane passed her phone around, showing a photo of their new house. 4 bedrooms and a perfect guest suite for Mom, she said. "Oh, and Dad helped a bit too." She winked at Lucas, then laughed softly. Someone asked if the house was gifted, and Victoria replied, "Well, Paul had savings from whatever accountants do." I sipped water, counted the beat between impulse and dignity, and said nothing. Lucas tried to pivot the conversation toward the neighborhood park and commute times, but people who chase polish always circle back to shine. "You're lucky, Sloane," one bridesmaid said. "Most teachers and contractors can't buy this fast." "Budget charm," she answered, eyes flicking to me. "It's practically our theme." Dessert came with speeches. Sloane's father, Charles Parker, toasted the couple, thanking vendors, guests, and everyone who contributed, financially or otherwise. The room laughed. I smiled, mostly for Lucas's sake. Victoria whispered, "He meant that kindly," though her tone suggested she liked how it sounded. "I didn't take offense," I said, though that wasn't entirely true. Offense requires surprise. Patterns just confirm what's already measured. Later, when the photographer lined families for group shots, the planner hesitated. "Bride side first," Victoria said. "We'll do the Whitakers after." Lucas glanced at me, then looked away, too polite to argue optics. I stood still and waited. Respect arrives late when decorum runs the schedule. The photographer called, "Father-of-the-groom," but Victoria spoke over him. "We're fine. We got enough." The photographer looked confused, then shrugged. "We'll get a few tomorrow at the venue," he offered. I stepped aside and said, "Don't rush. Good photos need balance." Sloane's aunt smiled awkwardly. "You're such a good sport." "Just old enough to prefer gravity over performance," I said. She didn't get it. People rarely do when humor walks without a sign. I went to refill my coffee, the one thing free of inflation or condescension. The table near the door gave me a full view of everyone trying to prove celebration equals worth. After dinner, Lucas joined me near the parking lot, the night cool and honest. "They don't mean anything by it," he said quickly. "They just get nervous when class stuff comes up." "Class isn't a subject," I said. "It's behavior." He winced like he expected a longer sentence. "Dad, just tomorrow, please keep things light." "For Sloane." "Light as paper," I said. He nodded, not hearing the kind of paper I meant. "She'll come around," he added, trying to patch something that wasn't yet torn. "She might," I said. "Paper bends before it rips." He sighed, hugged me briefly, and walked toward his new in-laws' laughter. I stayed until their car lights faded, counting breaths until calm weighed more than pride. At home, I opened my laptop and reviewed the escrow timeline. The lender's secure portal showed every green check except one, final funding authorization. Angela Ruiz had flagged it, pending verification of gift funds. I hovered the mouse, reread the line, and smiled slightly. Mortgage files don't judge. They just wait for truth to catch up. My transfer sat ready in the bank's queue, one click from completion. I drafted an email, saved it as a draft, and left the subject line blank. Sometimes the hardest decisions start as quiet placeholders. I closed the laptop, checked the wire form again, and folded it neatly. It would stay folded until behavior balanced the numbers again. The next morning, my sister texted from her hotel. "You keeping peace or teaching lessons?" I replied, "Both. Order matters." She sent a thumbs-up emoji, which meant she trusted my math. Outside, birds argued over the feeder, each taking turns they didn't honor. People aren't much different. The rehearsal dinner had clarified something more than disrespect. It confirmed that entitlement doesn't feel rude to those born comfortable. They think gratitude is decorative. Numbers don't. By sunrise, my plan had hardened quietly, like concrete curing under the surface. No sound, no apology, just preparation for wait. I met Angela Ruiz at her branch office the Monday before rehearsal. Her desk faced a window, neat files stacked by color and stage. She shook my hand and spoke with the tempo of someone double-checking math. "Thanks for coming in," she said. "Let's make sure expectations match paperwork." I placed the gift letter and bank statement on the table carefully. "I like clean trails," I said, keeping tone even and practical. She skimmed, nodded, and highlighted 2 fine print lines methodically. "This letter satisfies underwriting," she said, "assuming funds arrive before closing." "Funds scheduled for the business day prior," I answered, tapping the wire form. Her pen stopped. "And you retain discretion until funds actually land," she added. We reviewed the lender's checklist like carpenters, measuring twice before cutting. "Underwriters confirm 3 things," she said, holding up fingers one by one. 1. The gift is not a loan in disguise under different language. 2. The donor's funds exist and are seasoned in their own account. 3. The transfer is tracked from your bank to the borrower's account. I nodded while she printed a short summary for my folder. "Rate lock stands," she added, "but cash to close collapses without your gift." "No gift equals postponed or denied," I said, keeping it plain and direct. "Exactly," she replied, underlining the line about verified receipt before funding. Process protects fairness when personalities start testing boundaries loudly. I asked the question that mattered more than flowers or polite smiles. "If behavior goes sideways, can I decline to wire without penalty?" "Yes," she said. "You can withhold until you're comfortable, provided no misrepresentation. We'll document the reason as donor discretion, not borrower misconduct," she added. "That protects everyone if emotions try to rewrite history afterward." I exhaled, appreciating truth that doesn't require volume or applause. "Could I also retract after wiring if disrespect continues later?" I asked. "Not after funds clear," she said steady. "That bell doesn't unring." "Then discretion ends at transfer. Start to finish," I repeated for accuracy. "Correct," she said. "So decide before money moves, not after." We drafted 2 emails that lived like wrenches in the glove box. Email A affirms intent to gift and confirms timing. "Nothing emotional," she said. Email B pauses funds and requests a new conversation before wiring. She kept sentences short, clean, and immune to spin from angry relatives. "No accusations," she advised. "Just measured language any auditor could read comfortably." I appreciated her discipline because paper likes respect more than passion. "What about the appraisal and earnest money if I pause?" I asked. "Appraisal stands. Earnest money stays with the contract's contingencies," she answered. "The agent might negotiate extensions. Rate lock could require a small fee." I wrote that down, because small fees beat lifetime resentment every time. We shifted from mechanics to the human part that breaks files fastest. "Tell your son first," she said, "so he hears it calmly, not online. Use plain language and invite him to help reset expectations." I nodded, picturing Lucas listening better than people who chase optics. "He's conflict avoidant," I said. "He'll try to bridge without naming behavior." "Name it kindly," she replied. "Kind truth travels farther than polite fog." "And keep me copied on anything material," she added, tapping her card. I like that instruction because sunlight prevents rumors from building traction. "If they apologize sincerely, reissue email A and proceed," she said. "Structure should reward respect, not performance." That sentence felt like a stud in a straight wall. Before leaving, I called Mark Denton on speaker with Angela beside me. "Timeline unchanged unless donor pauses gift," she summarized for him clearly. Mark didn't flinch, which I respected more than enthusiasm. "If that happens, I'll request a short extension," he said. "Sellers want clean solutions, not theater." "Copy," I said, preferring his carpenter's vocabulary over showroom words. Angela printed my folder tab. Gift, verified, wire, discretion until sent. I thanked her and shook hands one more time. Outside, the sidewalk smelled like rain that might never arrive. I tucked the folder under my arm and decided my promise needed boundaries. Some people call that control. Banks call it responsible lending with clear conditions. That evening, I wrote a brief summary for myself and closed the folder. Gift for housing, not optics. Discretion ends when funds move, I noted. Communicate early, document everything, and keep sentences short. Lucas texted about the seating chart. I told him we'd talk tomorrow. I slept fine because clarity rests better than hope built on noise. The plan wasn't revenge. It was alignment measured in dollars and conduct. If laughter stayed polite and respect appeared, wires would flow cleanly. If public cuts returned, email B would travel before midnight, quietly. Either way, tomorrow's numbers would reflect tonight's choices without apology. Paper doesn't punish, it reports. The ballroom looked brighter after dinner, like applause had polished the air. I stood near the head table while the DJ arranged the microphone. Lucas caught my eye and nodded, asking me to keep it light. I planned to, because light travels farther when it stays honest. Sloane posed for a quick picture, lips set like a showroom smile. Victoria adjusted a centerpiece and whispered instructions toward the planner. I lifted the glass when the room fell quiet enough for dignity. "To mornings you earn," I began, "and evenings you repair quickly." A few guests smiled, the safe kind that always prefers easy weather. I kept my eyes on my son, not the cameras pointing past him. "May your budget build peace instead of pressure," I said carefully then. Someone near Victoria laughed and said, "He means coupon codes and leftovers." The ripples spread like a rumor people wanted to enjoy together. Sloane leaned toward Lucas and murmured, "It's sweet, but very Whitaker." I heard it cleanly because microphones love careless confidence near glassware. Victoria added, "Let the decorators speak next. Design carries real memory." More laughter came, gentle to them, heavier to anyone counting respect. I lowered my glass and decided silence might teach better than rebuttal. "To the couple," I concluded, keeping it short because short preserves weight. "Tomorrow we'll meet the professionals who turn promises into keys." Applause returned, a polite blanket covering sharper edges still visible. Sloane moved forward, smile perfect, and touched Lucas for the cameras. "Thanks, Paul," she said, voice pitched for recordings, not relationships. "Next time, maybe skip budget themes and talk about love." "Budgets pay for love's roof," I said, keeping tone measured and steady. She blinked and turned as Victoria waved the photographer closer again. A cousin called out, "Shots at the bar for the fancy people." Someone else added, "Premium night, premium life," and clinked glasses loudly. Lucas whispered, "It's fine, Dad. People are excited and careless." "Excited doesn't excuse careless," I answered softly, then stepped off the riser. At the bar, a groomsman asked what I thought of the band. "Rhythm is good," I said. "They land where the beat expects." He laughed and said, "You talk like numbers learn to dance." "Numbers keep weddings honest when memory gets creative later," I replied. He shrugged and ordered a round for the bridesmaids, eager to please. The planner hurried past, reminding me about the cake and bouquet toss. I watched Sloane rehearse a staged laugh with her college friends nearby. Victoria checked the uplights and asked staff to lift brightness one notch. Someone joked about community center chic and practiced pretending it wasn't mean. I measured each comment like a carpenter checks level under pressure. Lucas found me near the doors and tried to adjust the weather. "Please stay cool," he said gently. "We're almost to the dance." "I'm cool," I said, just deciding whether help encourages performance. He frowned, confused by the sentence I had trimmed for speed. "What help?" he asked, though he knew more than his face admitted. "The document," I said, "the one that closes the loan tomorrow." He closed his eyes briefly, then opened them with steady grace. "Don't punish us for other people's mouths," he said. "I'm not punishing," I answered. "I'm aligning gift with behavior." He swallowed, nodded once, and said, "I'll talk to Sloane later." The bouquet toss happened, and cameras chased predictable joy across the floor. Afterward, Sloane approached with Victoria, both carrying victory like jewelry. "We'll meet at closing at 9, Victoria said, decisive and bright. "Decorator will join after lunch to evaluate paint and lighting upgrades." "Closing requires funds first," I said, calm like an invoice that smiles. "Angela verifies receipt before anyone celebrates with contractors." Sloane tilted her head and said, "You already promised the gift." "I promised discretion until funds move," I said, echoing Angela's sentence intentionally. Victoria laughed lightly and said, "Donor nerves aren't attractive on camera." I looked at Lucas again and decided the decision had already matured. I stepped outside to air that moved without opinions or captions. The parking lot held quiet better than chandeliers ever could inside. I called Angela and reached her voicemail, speaking slowly and precisely. Pause funds, I said, until we confirm respectful alignment tomorrow morning. I ended the call and composed email B in exactly 3 lines. Please hold donor transfer. Request discussion with borrowers before wiring. I copied Lucas, not Victoria, because responsibility beats optics during storms. Back inside, the band started a safe song people knew by heart. I returned to the edge, finished my water, and put the phone away. The choice felt like a level finding center after long, patient sliding. When the night ended, I hugged Lucas and kept it steady. Breakfast at 7, I said, before you meet with Angela. He nodded, breathing like a man who decided to choose adulthood. Sloane thanked guests and waved, while Victoria drafted a caption aloud. Perfect night, she said. No budget vibes, only luxury and love. I smiled, not agreeing, not arguing, just letting paper handle tomorrow. In the car, I read email B once and pressed send. The subject line carried no heat. Auditors prefer weatherproof language always. Streetlights guided me home at a speed that fit my patience. At a red light, I breathed and counted 4 long heartbeats. The decision clicked into place like a lock that loves proper keys. I left the ballroom and drove home on streets that remembered parades. The windshield still held faint confetti smears, drying into scattered dots. I breathed normally, counted corners, and noted my hands stayed steady. Streetlights kept time while the radio whispered traffic that wasn't mine. At a red light, I replayed my voicemail to Angela carefully. Pause funds, I had said, until respectful alignment is confirmed tomorrow morning. Simple words work hardest when emotion wants longer, louder sentences. I turned onto my block and let the engine cool quietly. Calm arrives faster when numbers, not pride, set the schedule. Inside, I set my phone, wallet, and keys on the table deliberately. I poured water, didn't drink, and let quiet stretch across the room. The secure portal waited like a wrench laid on clean cloth. I opened the draft, confirmed recipients, and trimmed the opening line shorter. Please hold donor transfer pending discussion with borrowers, the message now read. Availability, 7 a.m. call, 9 a.m. meeting, I added exactly. I attached the signed gift letter so no one claimed confusion later. Paper protects everyone when memory decides to improvise under pressure. I proofread twice, then sent with the steadiness carpenters learn framing stairs. Angela replied within minutes, writing the kind of sentence auditors admire. Acknowledged, donor discretion invoked. Funds on hold until written release, she wrote. Her next line ran like a schedule tacked above a break room sink. Borrowers to be notified at 8. Meeting confirmed for 9, I answered. Thank you. I will brief my son before business hours. Then I added, please document tonight's call and this exchange and file. She replied, already done. Appraisal stands. Rate lock remains inside tolerance. Precision cools rooms that earlier hosted costume confidence and expensive lighting. I closed the portal and let the folder breathe beside me. Brenda called as I set the phone face down on wood. Did you actually pull the wire? She asked without wasting hello. Paused it, I said. Discussion first, transfer only after alignment. They'll call you names, she warned, and upload captions pretending to be wisdom. Captions don't satisfy underwriting conditions, I said, and names don't move money. She exhaled, then softened. Text me after breakfast. I'll be nearby. Thanks, I said, meaning rides, coffee, simply a quiet witness. Sisters understand balance sheets measured in patience, not dollars. I wrote Lucas a message designed to survive screenshots and storms. Funds paused until respectful alignment, I typed, keeping the lane narrow. Breakfast 7 near the branch. We'll talk before Angela calls. 3 dots appeared, vanished, then returned like boats testing shallow water. Understood, he wrote. She's upset, but I'll get her there calmly. I answered, bring facts. Feelings can wait until closing breathes again. He sent a single heart, the old signal for steady ground. I set the phone down and listened to the refrigerator hum evenly. I drafted a small script for myself, 10 short lines on paper. State reason without blame. The first line read, firm and generous. Describe discretion endpoint, transfer. The second line said, clean and exact. Invite apology if authentic. The third line offered, practical and human. Offer revised support, budget plan, equal say, quiet boundaries. Next, keep Angela central. Let bank process wear the badge. Another line. No sarcasm, no lectures, no point scoring. The last line warned. I folded the sheet, not because I needed it, but discipline matters. Checklists keep professionals polite when storms visit without warning. Near midnight, I walked the yard and listened to crickets keep tempo. The maple rustled lightly, promising tomorrow's shade without demanding applause. A neighbor's porch light clicked off. The street dropped into honest stillness. I considered calling Sloan, then decided daylight respects sentences better. I considered texting Victoria, then remembered auditors should read my words later. Choices clarified once I separated hurt from signatures completely. I locked the back door and let the bolt answer like policy. Policy saves family from shouting matches disguised as principles. Sleep came because plans hold weight that feelings shouldn't carry alone. I woke before dawn without alarms and brewed coffee quietly. I underlined one note: offer motel reimbursement if meeting heats beyond usefulness. Another read: if apology arrives, reward it with process, not speeches. The sun pulled color onto the street. Delivery trucks whispered by slowly. I ironed a clean shirt and chose plain shoes that never brag. Numbers don't dress up. They just arrive and explain themselves. Calm men look like that when files decide fates. At the diner, the bell rang the way it always rings for him. News. The cook flipped pancakes while the server poured mugs like metronomes. Lucas arrived with tired eyes and a jaw set for adulthood. Thanks for calling first, he said, sitting before the menus arrived. I won't let this turn theatrical, I answered, keeping the lane narrow. She was embarrassed, he said, but she knows the clock matters. The clock matters, I agreed. And so do people under roofs. We ate eggs and decided to use small words with Angela. Small words travel farther than wounded pride on closing day. At 7:50, I stepped outside and called Angela on schedule. We're close by, I said. 9 o'clock still works for everyone. Yes, she answered. File updated, borrowers notified, front desk expecting you. Appraisal valid, extension available if necessary, she added calmly. Copy, I said, grateful for process that ignores ballroom theatrics. I texted Lucas, let's drive, and paid the bill in cash. He folded his napkin, pocketed his nerves, and stood with intention. We walked to the truck like men choosing structure over noise. Angela called at 8 sharp, voice neutral and exact, like good paperwork. Good morning, she said. We have a change regarding verified gift funds. Lucas answered first, steady but tired, saying, we're 5 minutes from your branch. Understood, she replied. Please come to my office at 9. Sloan picked up a second line, breath quick and words already sharp. What changed? She asked. Nothing changed on our end since last night. Angela stayed professional. Donor paused, transfer pending discussion, she said. Cash to close is short. Silence stretched. Then Sloan exhaled hard into the phone. So you're saying the money disappeared overnight without cause? We reached the branch early and waited in chairs facing framed certificates. The lobby smelled like copier toner and a bowl of wrapped butterscotch candies. Sloan and Victoria arrived moments later, moving fast and loud through polished quiet. Angela led us to a glass room where sound carried, but stayed contained. She opened a file neatly, then placed 3 papers in a perfect row. Appraisal stands as valid, she said. Rate lock still inside tolerance for now. However, the loan requires documented funds to meet cash to close. Sloan glared at me, then at Lucas, then back at Angela's pen. Victoria leaned forward. We were promised this gift. This is outrageous, frankly. Angela kept her eyes on the documents, not on heat or accusations. Underwriting recognizes the donor's discretion until funds physically transfer, she explained evenly. There's no violation noted, only a hold pending donor confirmation. Victoria scoffed. So a man's feelings can jeopardize a legal closing? Angela didn't flinch. We respect relationships, but we enforce guidelines, she said. Guidelines aren't feelings. Earnest money remains applied, she added, tapping the contract summary clearly. If we miss closing, the agent may negotiate extension or release. Sloan's voice cracked. Our movers come tomorrow. The decorators scheduled afternoon walkthroughs and deliveries. Angela nodded once. Logistics follow funding, not the reverse. That's universal. Lucas touched Sloan's arm, trying to steady a room turning slippery. We'll reset, he said, and speak like adults who want a home. Victoria turned on me, smile thin, words powdered like sugar over knives. Paul, do you understand the humiliation here? She asked, leaning closer. You staged this to embarrass us and control your son. I watched the pen on Angela's pad, not the theater beside it. I paused transfer until respectful alignment, I said, slow and exact. Nothing more, nothing less. We'll resolve this today if behavior resolves. Sloan whispered, You couldn't talk to me privately? I answered. We're talking privately now, with a lender present. Phones buzzed on the table, vibrating like insects trapped behind glass. Vendors pinged Sloane about balances, schedules, and access codes for their services. She muted notifications, blinking fast, mascara holding but effort showing through. Angela outlined choices with the clarity contracts admire under fluorescent lights. Option 1. Donor releases funds with confirmation to proceed as documented. Option 2. Buyers increase their contribution. Revised loan may still clear. Option 3. Request extension. Incur lock fee. Reassess cash to close. She paused, letting numbers replace emotion as the room's loudest speaker. Regardless, we need a decision by noon to protect tomorrow's funding. Mark Denton joined by speakerphone, voice calm like tires whispering on dry roads. Sellers prefer clean solutions and short delays, he said without drama. They have a backup offer, but they want you to succeed. Victoria jumped in. We'll sue if this falls through, she threatened without legal footing. Mark ignored the threat and addressed action instead of noise directly. File needs confirmed money or a signed extension today, he said. Decorators can't beat guidelines. Lucas straightened. We'll meet the requirement. Give us an hour. Sloane looked between faces, then stared at the paper that decided rooms. What exactly unlocks the funds? She asked, voice smaller, more careful now. Angela answered first, then looked to me to finish the sentence strongly. We need the donor's written release to wire, she said, unblinking. I kept it brief. Respectful alignment and a basic plan, I said calmly. Apology, budget night. Equal say, simple proof of partnership. Victoria scoffed again. Apologies to unlock money? That's emotional extortion. It's adult agreement, I replied. Process rewards cooperation, that's all. Sloane swallowed, then faced Angela instead of me, choosing function over theater. If he releases by noon, can we still fund tomorrow? Angela nodded. Yes, provided we receive confirmation and updated disclosures promptly. Sloane stared at the paperwork, like people stare at whether they can't negotiate. Lucas took her hand and spoke softly. Careful not to corner her. We wanted the home, not the show, he said. Let's choose the home. She blinked, then wiped one eye with the back of a knuckle. I said careless things last night, she admitted, breathing between words intentionally. I treated your father like an accessory and mocked his values. Victoria whispered. Sloane, warning against surrender, but momentum already changed direction. We'll fix tone and process, Sloane said. Louder now, measured and real. Angela printed revised disclosures and highlighted signature lines without fanning any flames. Initial here acknowledging timeline risk, she said, efficient and pleasantly human. Sign here confirming donor discretion until funds land in their account. Lucas signed, then slid the pen to Sloane, who signed steadily. Angela placed copies in folders, then set a small, wrapped candy nearby. Take a breath, she suggested, then make your call. The room felt bigger after someone named the path aloud clearly. Sloane nodded, pocketed the candy, and stood with deliberate calm finally. We'll step outside, she said, and request his release respectfully. We waited while they called from the hallway with the door cracked. Silence returned except for printers, keyboards, and a clock that refused drama. Angela twirled her pen once, then set it down in a perfect line. If they call by 11:30, we'll have documents queued by noon, she said. I appreciate your concise emails, she added, eyes kind but professional. Process runs smoother when adults keep sentences short. I nodded, grateful for a banker who understood homes better than decor. Lucas and Sloane re-entered, faces calmer, hands linked like neighbors choosing work. We're ready, he said. She'll speak first. I'll back her fully. Phones started buzzing before we left the branch lobby's revolving door. A bridesmaid posted a caption about budget strings attached to generous hearts. Comments stacked quickly, sharp jokes dressed as concern for our future. Victoria forwarded screenshots with a note. This is what control looks like. I didn't answer, because screenshots don't move money or schedule closings. Instead, I opened my notes and wrote 3 plain sentences. Funds paused for respectful alignment. Meeting completed. Awaiting borrower's written plan. Paper stays calm when the room prefers drama more than progress. Sloane texted from the sidewalk, choosing a smaller voice than earlier. I'll send a message. Within 30 minutes, she wrote. It will be clear. Lucas added, we're drafting something reasonable. No theater. I replied with the same practical cadence process respects. Good. Keep it short, specific, and dated. Email Angela and me. Victoria called instead. Breath fast, words stacked like furniture in a hallway. You're damaging reputations, she said. People in this town remember humiliation longer than kindness. Banks remember documents? I answered. Send a plan. Let paperwork do memory. By mid-morning, the internet tried hard to build a larger bonfire. A cousin posted that certain parents can't handle new money and taste. Someone suggested starting a crowd fund so the kids aren't punished by pride. Brenda texted, breathe, don't engage. Let the bank wear the badge. I typed one line and saved it as a standard reply. All decisions will be handled through the lender and agent, respectfully. I sent it twice. Nothing more, nothing less. Neutral language dulls knives people throw for applause. At 10:40, Sloane's email arrived with Lucas copied and Angela included. We apologize for last night's disrespect, public and private, the first line read. Starting immediately, we adopt budget night Sundays and equal say on major choices. We will keep wedding optics separate from housing decisions. She closed with, please release funds so we can close and begin right. Lucas added 2 lines. This plan is ours. Hold us accountable. The message used short sentences that would survive audits and long memories. I nodded because accountability loves brevity and dates. Angela replied exactly like a loan officer should on closing eve. Acknowledged. Borrowers confirm partnership plan. Donor, please respond with release language. I opened the template we drafted and filled blanks without adjectives. I release the donor transfer upon receipt of this email, I wrote. Conditions met by written plan and apology recorded. Wire authorized today per closing schedule. I read it twice, then added one practical line. Please upload this thread to the file. Process hardens when words meet folders quickly. Before pressing send, I called Mark Denton for a fast alignment check. We're green if wire lands before cutoff, he said. Dependable as always. Sellers will breathe when confirmation hits their inbox. I asked about the rate lock and any extension traps left. We're good today. Tomorrow would charge a small fee, he answered. Your quiet emails saved us headache and rumor control. I thanked him and promised to text after Angela confirmed receipt. Professionals don't need speeches. They need clocks and yes or no answers. Noise tried one more time while we waited for the wire window. Victoria's group chat lit with messages about boundaries made of spreadsheets. A friend wrote, men like that never stop. Measuring. I didn't measure them. I measured the timeline and clicked send. Angela answered within minutes. Release received. Wiring now. Buyers updated. 2 minutes later, funds verified. File returning to clear to close. Mark texted a thumbs up, then a simple line. Keys on schedule tomorrow. The internet quieted, not from apology, but from boredom when starved. I stepped outside and called Lucas first, then Sloane second. Funds released. Close tomorrow on time, I said to both calmly. Lucas exhaled, a sound that belonged to adulthood, not relief alone. Thank you, he said. We'll earn the house, not perform inside it. Sloane kept her voice even, choosing practical words she could repeat later. We'll keep optics separate from roofs, she said. Thank you for clarity. I ended both calls with the same steady sentence. Start with groceries tonight. Homes learn families by how they eat. The diner on State smelled like coffee, bacon, and new beginnings. Lucas slid into the booth across from me, eyes clearer than yesterday. The server poured 2 mugs without asking, knowing our order by rhythm. Funds released, he said. Half statement, half thank you, tucked into breath. Closing at 9 tomorrow, I answered, keeping tone even and practical. He unfolded a notebook, pages marked with boxes, arrows, and short lines. I want us aligned beyond paperwork, he said, tapping the margin twice. We're aligned, I replied, but alignment keeps learning unless people teach it. He nodded slowly, then asked the question grown sons eventually learn to ask. Where did I fail last night? He said, not defensive, just honest. I watched steam lift from the mugs and settle into the room. You didn't fail, I said. You waited too long to correct. He winced once and looked at the salt shaker like it might answer. I should have cut jokes faster, he said, in real time. Early correction costs less, I said, like fixing leaks before drywall. He nodded, writing a small note that would outlive embarrassment tomorrow. I'll speak early, calmly, privately when possible, he said, deciding aloud. Good, I replied. Private first protects everyone, public only when safety demands it. The server set plates down and retreated, leaving us quiet and ready. Victoria won't like boundaries, Lucas said, voice cautious but solid underneath. She can dislike them, I answered, and still live inside them politely. He breathed out, tasting the sentence like medicine that finally worked. Our plan keeps her in the guest suite, not the kitchen, he said. Guest suite is good, I replied. Kitchens run on team rules only. He smiled, then sobered. Social posts hurt, he added, glancing at his phone screen. Screenshots don't move mortgages, I said. Never forget who actually releases keys. He tucked the phone away, letting the idea replace the need to check. He flipped his notebook to a new page labeled, After Closing, in block letters. Chores Sunday, Budget Sunday, monthly notes not longer than a page, he said. Equal say on purchases over 300, I suggested, keeping numbers reasonable. He wrote it down and nodded, already picturing receipts that won't start fights. What about decor? He asked. She wants style, I want durability. 2 quotes, weekend decision, 1 veto each per quarter, I answered. He smiled. A veto for pillows, he joked, tension finally breaking politely. Vetoes expire unused, I said, so they don't become trophies or weapons. He wrote that too, turning rules into shared language his house could hear. He cut into eggs, paused, then asked the heavier question slowly. Did you ever doubt her? He asked, choosing accuracy over safety. I let the fork rest and kept my voice level and simple. I doubted her training, I said, not her capacity to learn partnership. He studied my face, reading for judgment I chose not to carry. So the apology mattered? He asked. The plan mattered more, I answered. Apologies fade, systems repeat. He nodded, accepting that structure outlives promises made under chandeliers. We'll run systems, he said, not perform feelings for cameras anymore. That's adulthood, I said. Adulthood prefers checklists to captions every time. Tell me how to handle Victoria during holidays, he said, practical again. Set times and tasks in writing 2 weeks out, I answered. Give options. What if she ignores them and arrives with extra demands? He asked. Offer seats and schedules, I said. Decline changes that break agreed plans. He wrote, offer, decline, repeat, then underlined it carefully twice. She'll say it's unkind, he warned, testing the line for cracks. Kindness is keeping promises to the people under your roof, I said. Guests honor that, or become guests somewhere else next time. He took a long breath that looked like relief, choosing its first chair. He turned the page again and circled money boundaries with a firm pen stroke. No joint accounts with in-laws, he said, waiting for my confirmation. Correct, I answered, and no co-signed loans outside emergencies we all define. Emergencies mean health, safety, or roof leaks, he offered, building the fence. Not decor, flights, or sudden upgrades that impress nobody who matters, I added. He wrote it down and smiled like a teacher grading his own work. I can run this, he said, more to himself than to me. Run it kindly, I said, because firmness travels farther with warmth. He nodded, understanding kindness without surrender was possible most days. The check arrived. I paid in cash because some habits anchor well. At the door, he stopped and squeezed my shoulder with a steady hand. Thank you for pausing, he said, then releasing once we honored terms. Thank you for choosing systems over storms, I answered, meaning every word. He looked toward the branch down the street and squared his shoulders. I'll lead better, he said. Start with quiet, finish with clarity. Do that, I said, and houses will hold you when weather visits. He smiled, pocketed the notebook, and stepped into sun that respected schedules. We walked to the truck, and he checked one last practical box. Text me your wording for hard conversations, he said, unlocking his phone. Short lines, I answered. State boundary, offer choice, confirm follow-up in writing. Got it, he said, already typing templates he'd use on ordinary Tuesdays. He hugged me like a man thanking structure, not just a father. See you tomorrow at closing, he said, voice calm and grown. See you at Keys, I answered, letting that word carry tomorrow's weight. Lucas and I reached their rental before dinner time, light slanting kindly west. Sloane opened the door, hair pulled back, eyes steady, voice measured and real. Come in, she said. I cooked something simple. Talking works better fed. I nodded because kitchens teach cooperation faster than living rooms ever can. We set plates down, not as ceremony, but as temporary truce anchors. Thank you for releasing funds, she said, hands folded, shoulders squared carefully. We'll show you the plan in plain sentences, not decorations. Lucas placed a notebook on the table, pages marked with bold headings. Agreement, not performance, he said, catching my eye with quiet certainty. I sat, ready to build a frame language could carry without bending. We start with tone, Sloane said, not looking for loopholes or applause. Public jokes stop, she continued, and corrections happen privately, whenever possible. Private first, I agreed. Then public only if safety needs outside help. Lucas added, holiday schedules will be written with clear arrival and departure windows. Guest suite for mom, he said. Kitchen decisions for us only here. Sloane nodded, accepting the sentence without testing edges or airing defenses. I'll text my mother tonight, she said, choosing a difficult door calmly. I'll thank her help, then ask for quieter support moving forward. I listened for posture, heard ownership instead, and relaxed exactly one notch. Tone changes sound like adults, not apologies wearing perfume for photographs later. Money next, I said, tapping the notebook margin gently for cadence. No joint accounts with in-laws, no co-signed loans outside defined emergencies. Lucas wrote, emergency, our Nasser health, safety, or roof in block letters, underlining each word. Equal, say, on purchases above 300, he repeated, still level and sure. Sloane nodded. 2 quotes for anything over 1,000, she added clearly. Budget nights Sundays, Lucas said, smiling. Notes 1 page, no speeches allowed. Maintenance reserve each month, I said. Even 50 grows into quiet courage. And groceries before decor, Sloane added, practical and specific without losing grace. We paused, letting the sentences settle like concrete, finding level overnight, thoughtfully. Visitors and boundaries, Lucas said, turning the page with a steady hand. Drop-ins cleared by text. No surprise crews or decorator walkthroughs unannounced. Sloane exhaled. Agreed, she said. And vendor payments never tied to family favors. I nodded, because clarity saves friendships that pride usually ruins quickly. If a visit tilts chaotic, I said, we schedule a smaller follow-up. Lucas smiled faintly. Offer, decline, repeat, he said, remembering the diner lesson. Sloane looked up. Include holidays, she said, especially Thanksgiving and long weekends together. Yes, I answered. Traditions survive by schedule, not emotion-chasing seating plans. She breathed easier once calendars replaced combat dressed as sentiment and obligation. Consequences, Sloane said, meeting my eyes without flinching or asking mercy. If we break agreed rules, we fix it within a week. Documented. Documented means short notes, Lucas said, not courtroom briefs or blame diaries. Correct, I said. Facts, actions, and 1 sentence about prevention next time. She nodded again. If we escalate online, we owe a public correction. Lucas glanced at her, surprised but grateful for the straight line offered. Screenshots shouldn't outlive character, she added, voice steady, shoulders finally lowering. Agreed, I said, and corrections should name exactly what changes tomorrow. We all understood that consequences without repair are theater, not grown structure. Adults trade certainty for freedom and keep their freedom by honoring certainty. We ate, then read the notebook aloud, 1 section at a time. Anything missing? Lucas asked, ready to tighten bolts before weather returned. 1 last piece, I said. Keys and lenders hear patterns, not promises. Our pattern starts tonight, Sloane said, not after closing or after decor. I stood, feeling weight shift from me to the people it belonged to. Then my role shrinks, I said, and your home grows up fast. We want that, Lucas replied, voice firm, eyes bright, grounded and calm. Sloane reached across, palm up, offering something adult instead of shiny. Thank you for stopping the wire, she said. Thank you for releasing it, right. I shook her hand. Thank you for choosing systems over caption, I answered simply. We met at the title office just before 9. Sun mild and steady. The lobby smelled like new carpet, pens, and copied paper edges. Mark waved from the hallway, folder tucked under his arm like certainty. Angela followed, calm as always, holding a stack of disclosures. IDs first, the closer said, cheerful and practiced like a good nurse. We handed licenses across the table and signed a visitor's sheet. Sloane smoothed her jacket, then let her hands rest without posing. Lucas sat upright, ready, the notebook folded flat in his pocket. I placed my phone face down and kept my breathing even. Rooms behave better when people do, especially rooms that trade deeds. The closer spread papers like a map and began in clean, short lines. This is your closing disclosure, she said. Numbers match yesterday's wire? Angela nodded, confirming interest, taxes, and the lender credit stayed inside tolerance. Mark pointed to the keys and a lockbox code on a card. Keys after recording, he said. Code works once the county stamps. Sloane leaned forward and read the cash to close line carefully. Her shoulders eased when she saw zeros beside the donor section. Lucas signed first, each signature landing where arrows asked politely. Sloane followed, steady, not rushing, not rehearsing expression for cameras anymore. The pen moved like a promise, learning to keep its own pace. Halfway through, Victoria entered, breath quick, carrying opinions dressed as concern. Mark stood and gently redirected her to the lobby with professional gravity. Only signers, please, he said, voice kind, firm, impossible to push. Angela added, we'll bring copies out in 10 minutes. Door closed. Volume dropped. Process breathed again. Sloan watched the door, then looked down and kept signing. Lucas met my eyes and gave a small nod of thanks. The closer kept rhythm, flipping pages that measured lives more than events. Paperwork makes music when adults hold tempo together without applause. We finished signatures, then waited for recording like fishermen watch lines. Angela sent the package electronically and checked status with 2 steady clicks. Should record by noon, she said. Courier on standby for keys. Mark slid the small envelope across the table anyway. A head start, he said. Consider these ceremonial function weights for county clocks. Sloan turned the keys in her hand, remembering weight without perfume. We'll earn what they open, she said, voice even and practical. Lucas squeezed her hand once and didn't let go. I sat back and let ownership move to its proper home, respectfully. While we waited, Angela reviewed 3 habits like a coach before season. Draft your first budget note Sunday night, she said. Friendly and exact. Set auto-pay for principal, taxes, and insurance on separate lines. Text me photos of any repairs over 1,000, she added. 2 quotes first, unless water or electricity threaten safety. Sloan wrote each line in the notebook without pretending she already knew. Lucas added dates and a reminder about the maintenance envelope monthly. Systems beat speeches, I said, and Angela smiled because process heard its echo. Mark returned with a thumbs up at 11:40. Recorded, he said. Keys are officially alive. We walked out together, sunlight catching the metal in Sloan's palm. On the sidewalk, Victoria waited, face arranged for outcome, not battle. Sloan spoke first, simple, measured, and loud enough for honesty. Mom, we're homeowners, she said. We'll host after we learn the house. Victoria opened her mouth, then closed it, then chose a smaller sentence. Congratulations, she said, and let the words stand without decorations. Lucas hugged her briefly and gave a time for a short visit later. Boundaries sounded normal, not dramatic, which mattered more than approval. I shook Mark's hand, then Angela's, grateful for professionals who ignore theater. You kept us straight, I said. Paper did the heavy lifting. At the house, the porch looked the same, but felt different, like purpose arrived. Lucas set a grocery bag on the counter. Milk, bread, coffee, onions. Sloan placed a small plant by the window and laughed at herself softly. Groceries before decor, she said, quoting the line she once resisted. Groceries before decor, Lucas repeated, opening cabinets that finally belonged to them. I checked the water heater tag and the GFI outlet without ceremony. Text me your first list Sunday, I said. 10 lines, no speeches. Sloan nodded and reached into her pocket for the notebook again. Budget night 7, she read. Maintenance envelope, 2 quotes, and equal say. The house heard sentences that could survive storms and keep lights on. We stood at the threshold one more time before I left them. Lucas handed me a folded paper with 3 short lines printed. Boundary, choice, follow-up, it read. Our template for hard conversations later. We'll use this, he said, meaning holidays, vendors, and old habits returning. Sloan held up the keys and smiled without trying to impress anyone. Thank you for pausing, she said, and then for trusting the plan. Thank you for making one, I answered, because gratitude belongs both directions. I stepped onto the porch and felt maple shade cover the steps. Houses prefer shade early, sun later, then dinner with people who listen. I waved, walked to the truck, and let them close their own door. I parked 2 blocks away and texted Angela a last clean note. House recorded. Borrower stable. Donor stepping back to maintenance consultant only. She replied, Copy. Enjoy your quiet Saturday. Brenda called and asked how the room felt now. Level, I said. Systems over captions. Groceries over uplights. She laughed, then promised to bring coffee tomorrow and no opinions. I drove home the long way, passing the park Lucas mentioned weeks earlier. On the bench, 2 kids traded a baseball, careful and happy in turns. That's partnership, I said aloud. Nobody around to disagree or perform. Roads felt short when decisions finally matched the weight they carried. If this story felt true to life, give it a like and tell me what you think in the comments. And if you want more grounded stories about respect, boundaries, and doing things right, subscribe for the next one.